Hello, everyone, and welcome to Revinate video series. My name is Charlie Stalker, and I'm a customer success manager here at Revinate. Really excited today as we have with us Brian Woods, who is the Director of Brand Quality and Experience for G6 Hospitality, which many of you may know by its Motel 6 and Studio 6 brands. Brian, it's such a pleasure to have you on our coronavirus video series, where we're showcasing real insights from hoteliers on the front lines like yourself. So thanks for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me.
Before we get started, love to hear from you just a little bit of a background of your time in the hospitality industry, kind of how you got started and how you came to be where you are today.
Okay. I've actually been in the hospitality sector now for about 5 years. It was actually my anniversary a couple of days ago. What brought me to the sector was an opportunity to look at strategy, and primarily around development strategy, working with owners and franchisees on how to develop Motel 6 and Studio 6 properties. So I spent my first 2 to 2.5 years with the organization working on strategic initiatives on how to grow the brands. And as a result of that opportunity, I then started to work a little bit more into the business, more operationally, and had the opportunity to lead the quality program, which is a combination of a few items. The first one is actually conducting assessments at the properties with auditors to understand, the key quality metrics around cleanliness and condition, and then also managing the customer feedback or guest feedback between online reviews and satisfaction surveys. In addition to that, I also manage the property improvement plan team, which is called PIPs, which are renovation plans that we put our owners and franchisees on once they come into the brand, what they need to do in order to get their properties up to standard of a Motel 6 or Studio 6 brand. So I've had the opportunity to have a few roles over that 5 years, but it's been really, really exciting because I always have an opportunity to learn another part of the business.
Awesome. Well, that's great. You mentioned part of your role, is growing that brand and being present, in your community. So, I'd like to start with talking about, the G6, the Motel 6 community initiatives to assist the California Governor's Room Key Project to combat COVID and house the homeless population. So, what are some of your properties, doing in their individual communities to help during this time, and what does that Room Key Project consist of?
Correct. Yes, the Room Key Project in California was a partnership with LA County. And at the height of the pandemic, LA County led the way in managing hotels that supported COVID-19 efforts. So that accommodated, frontline workers, some actual COVID-19 patients, but most importantly, like you mentioned, the homeless population. So they were, working with hotels to manage those different people impacted by the virus. Once they started to manage the properties, they didn't have the right hotel management platform in place. So as a result, they came to Motel 6 to see if we could help create something that they could use. They were familiar with our existing Hotel Key platform that we use in our Motel 6 and Studio 6 properties today, and they wanted something very similar. So what we did is we partnered with our Hotel Key vendor, and then we also worked with the LA County officials. And within just 12 days, we were able to create a similar platform for them to use. And we were really excited because we were able to turn it around in such a quick time frame, and we were able to deliver on what they wanted. So in addition to creating the platform, we also trained their officials so they knew how to really use it so they could be efficient. And in addition to that, we also donated over 14 iPads, which are the terminals that they use to use the Hotel Key platform. So this was just an opportunity for us to work within the communities that we're in and be able to help out in a time of need.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And are there anything else that your properties are doing, in their individual communities, kind of outside of the Room Key Project to help during this time and bring awareness to that?
Yes, they are. One of the initiatives that in Dallas that we have been working with is donating face masks. And we have
Well,
donated thousands of face masks in the Dallas area to local medical centers and hospitals for the frontline staff that's fighting this virus and this pandemic today. There's a lot of things that the police departments are doing in the cities, and we have also arranged thank you lunches. One of our franchise owners had arranged a thank you lunch to just acknowledge all the hard work that our police and do in the community during this tough time. So it's very, very critical for us to remain active in our communities because, we do business here. We have a lot of relationships with the local businesses. So Motel 6 and Studio 6 will always be an active member in the community.
that's awesome. That's great to hear. It's really kind of living that true hospitality spirit even when times are down. So that's great. Can you also talk a little bit, about the partnership with the Trucker Path app to support the essential workers and what you've been doing with that?
Yes. And this is an exciting opportunity for us. Recently, we signed a 90-day partnership trial with Trucker Path. And for those who aren't familiar with Trucker Path, this is a mapping app, very similar to Waze, where truckers are trying to identify rooms to stay while they're on their truck routes. So these truckers are, obviously shipping, supplies, food, things like that. So now that we were able to strike up this partnership, these truckers can now identify Motel 6 and Studio 6 properties along their routes that have truck parking. And they will be able to see these through pop-up banners or any sponsor pins. And we're really excited about that because over 1 million truckers use this app. And this is just giving all of those truckers an opportunity to stay at one of our Motel 6 or Studio 6 properties while they're out traveling and doing everything that they need to do during this time.
Well, that's a great initiative, kind of a creative way to help, during this time. It's, a lot of people forget that there's that in-between part of getting the supplies to essential workers that people need. And that's a nice little niche that you guys have filled with that.
Yep. And it's a short-term partnership. Yeah, it's a short-term partnership, but this is something that if it benefits both parties, I can see this hopefully being extended to a longer-term arrangement.
Yeah, yeah. So there's been a huge focus, in our industry on health and safety, and especially in the coming months as our market starts to rebound. What are some of the initiatives that you've taken to keep guests and team members safe during this time?
Yes, like right now, that is our number one priority to ensure that we keep our guests as well as our team members safe. And we have done a lot of work over the last few weeks to ensure that we do just that. We recently rolled out our Clean at 6 protocols, which provides and details all the different action items that we're doing to provide that safety. It's broken down into 3 main categories. The first category is around enhanced cleaning and sanitation. And that's really involving, the frequent disinfecting of, common areas in the lobby, the front desk, and then the vending machine area as well. And then in the guest rooms, we're, frequently sanitizing down the high touch point areas such as light switches, desks and chairs, and then most importantly, our TV remote controls. So, it's just an enhanced focus on making sure we clean and sanitize those high touch point areas. We're also starting to implement, hand sanitizer stations across the properties as well. And that has been a big key as well. In addition to the sanitizing and the cleaning, we also are focusing on social distancing. So we are encouraging all of our guests to social distance while they're on the property. We're also encouraging our team members in the back office to social distance as well. We have installed plexiglass sneeze guards at the front desk for added safety. And then we also aren't cleaning occupied rooms. So if someone is occupying the room, we are now just scheduling pre-timed moments of windows where we can go and take out the trash and then replenish those rooms with linens and towels and things like that. So we will just drop those off in, in sanitized plastic bags and things like that. So we don't have to go into the room while it's occupied. So social distancing is going to still be a major part of what we do going forward. And then lastly, just ensuring that, our team members are practicing the right safety measures while they're on the property. They're going to always have PPE, face masks, gloves, et cetera, while they're on the property. We're going to manage their health and their, check temperature and things like that. If they're not feeling well, we'll send them home. And then for our guests, we're going to just continue to update and provide updated communication around COVID-19 best practices and all the different things we're doing at the property to ensure that our guests are informed and that they're acting in the right way. So those are the key, components of our Clean and Six protocol. And so far, it's been working really, really, really well at the properties.
Nice. It's nice to hear that you have something, formalized in place. So from an operational standpoint, hotels, with the boots on the ground, GMs, operations managers know that these are the standards. These are what I do, and it really sounds like a proactive approach as opposed to a reactive approach, which is good.
That's correct.
So, you have all these enhanced safety measures, taking care of the team members, in the market we're in now, we're slowly starting to see things come back to life. When do you expect the market rebound to fully happen? And, is there any specific segment you think which will rebound faster than others?
Wow. Charlie, I wish I had a crystal ball. There's a saying, if you could, forecast when the market's going to turn around, we'll all be on the beach. But when I look at the current environment now, and to your point, we're starting to see the economy slowly start to reopen. I'm starting to see that travel restrictions are starting to ease up. And as a result, I feel like business travel is going to be what starts to drive that rebound. I think leisure is going to still lag a little bit because I think people are still a little concerned about traveling. But I think business travel is going to be what starts to drive the market turnaround. And based off what I'm seeing and then the time it's going to take to get going, I think that, it's late Q4, early Q1 would be a good time to see that true rebound for the hotel industry. And when it comes to who's going to maybe rebound first, not to sound biased, but, I feel like the economy segment is going to drive that turnaround. In Motel 6 and Studio 6 in particular, we have always historically performed well in economic downturns, and we are continuing to do that today. So we're gonna help drive that turnaround as things open up. We're going to see more business flow into our properties, and that's going to then in turn start to turn the entire industry around. There is a bright spot right now that we're starting to see, which is the extended stay market. And these are, guests that's looking to stay longer than 3 or 4 days, right? These are people who need to stay for anywhere between 15 days to a month. And due to the current environment, we have seen an increased demand, not just with the guests, but then also with development. There's a lot of different investors and owners who are looking to capitalize on this extended stay demand that's just booming right now. So with that being said, I think that's going to help drive that turnaround as well. And we're going to drive it with our Studio 6 brand.
Awesome. Thank you. So is there anything else that you think hoteliers should be thinking about right now, or anything else, any additional advice, you'd give our community, as the hospitality industry as a whole?
Yes, I think the biggest, piece of advice I would give is to really, focus on the guest feedback and focus on what the guests are saying at these properties. Here at Motel 6, we have made that one of our top priorities over these last few weeks, is to really dive in and dig into the insights of what the customer or the guests are saying at our properties. We are now starting to present out the key insights to not just the executive team, but also our operations teams, right? Both on the own side of the properties that we own and then on the franchise side. Because we feel like if we arm the operation team with the data and insights that they can work with the owners, that would help ensure that we continue to provide a positive experience to our guests. And if there's opportunities that comes out of that, insights from the feedback, the brands that are nimble and easy to course correct and make changes on the fly, those are going to be the brands that are actually going to succeed and actually see that rebound come a little bit faster. And that's the things that we're doing in Motel 6 and Studio 6 is really listening to our guests, making those changes on the fly, and making sure we continue to provide a positive experience to all of our guests.
Yeah, that's great. You mentioned about the guest feedback. I think, a lot of people are nervous about the situation and the market at hand and unsure how their guests are going to be reacting. So being able to have a source where you can listen to them and collect feedback and know what they're saying is really going to put those who utilize that, I think, ahead of the rest of the market.
Yeah, and I think the main thing right now is just making sure everything is clean. With the current, environment right now, everything wants to be, clean. Everyone wants everything clean. So, that's helped drive a lot of our Clean at 6 protocols, listening to the guests and helping them understand what we're working on to make sure that they're safe and comfortable.
Right. Awesome. Perfect. Well, that's all the questions I have. So thanks again for joining us today, Brian. It was really great having you on. We appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. And that is going to conclude this episode of our Revinate Coronavirus video series. So thanks again for being with us, and thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you for having me.